Hello, I'm Philip Stoten. I'm at Apex 2023 and I'm with Matt Kelly, who is IPC's CTO. What's important to me is you're IPC's first CTO. So I wanted to explore why they chose to create that role and appoint a CTO and what you think that role represents for the industry.
Well, thanks for talking. It's been a busy week here already. So it's a great question. There was no CTO here before I joined. It's been 3 years. Most of my practicing career was in systems and building and designing systems. I think in terms of IPC, the one thing now, member-led organization, really good, but also at the at the mercy of the members' time, valuable time, to provide input and to offer direction on where to go. So having internal capability and kind of that technical horsepower was really the whole genesis of kind of bringing me on to start. And from there, over these 3 years, we've been growing ever since. Technically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And three years ago, you joined just before the IPC Expo. The last IPC Expo I was at because of COVID. So you've done a good chunk of your career or your role within lockdown. How was that at the beginning, and how has that changed since we've got to a more face-to-face basis on doing business?
Yeah, well, the lockdown it was actually a good thing in kind of my entry into the organization, because it actually gave me lots of time to think without a lot more of the travel and the kind of the hustle and bustle of that. So what we were able to do is to really be thoughtful about what was needed, hearing the voice of the industry, and then turning that into what we can do as an association in terms of the technology areas that are most important, but then also what the members actually want in terms of standards, advocacy, and the things that are important to them.
Yeah. I think when I look at it, standards and advocacy are very important. The ability to create the technical conference you got here, which is super impressive, and as you said already off camera, is the best attended it's ever been. So that's really impressive in itself. When you talk to customers or members about technology, are they looking for your help to bring partnerships together, bring working groups together, create an environment where they feel safe sharing technology ideas?
Yeah, and I mean, we've had, obviously there's all the big meetings throughout the week, but then we also have several private meetings and very large OEMs, contract manufacturers, EMS, and then into advanced packaging type of realms. And all of these people are basically asking the same thing. How can IPC help them in doing what they're doing? Look, I spent 20 years of my career actually designing and building products. I don't do that anymore, but I understand the value of making sure that as companies are developing, that IPC plays a role in that. So, it's my job, our job here now at IPC, to make sure, number one, it's really simple, make sure we're working on the right stuff. And I think that when you do that, the demand and the interest from the members, from the industry, really kicks in. So there's leading edge, and we walked away from that a little bit in my previous life, but understanding that you push as close to that as you can, and good results happen. Whether it's shows like this, standards, interest, new standards. Advocacy, that sort of thing. So I think it all comes full circle. As long as you're working on the right things, people take notice.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting, and I looked at, for example, CFX, an initiative that IPC was heavily involved in, and I think that really showed the skills and capability of an association like IPC to bring a disparate group together from all different parts of the supply chain with a particular goal in mind, and I see that as something you can do really well. Are there trends now that are driving you to bring people together in the same way? One of the buzzwords we're seeing at the show is AI, and it's like 5 years ago everybody was digital transformation or industry 4.0. This year everybody's talking about AI. Maybe next year we'll see some great examples of where it's being used, but it's kind of a journey. How do you help with that?
Well, the one thing that I think is most important is that we've been really spending a lot of time listening to the needs of membership. I mean, it's a very simple thing, but listen to what people want, and that's what we've done. Back to the COVID comments, it allowed us to really kind of digest that and then put plans and structure around that. So we've done that. Now, exiting and kind of getting back on airplanes and being real life to life, face to face, is really great. We have 4 main areas inside of IPC Solutions that we're really working hard on. It's a bit of a mash. It's an interesting list, but I think the more you think of it, the more they all work together. So first and foremost, advanced packaging. With all of the things that are happening in silicon today, I learned a long time ago, everything follows silicon. So we can synchronize our watches in 5, 6, 7 years from now, and from now till then, we can just watch all the changes that are going to happen. So advanced packaging, whether it's direct or indirect. So direct would be new groups that might be new to IPC, kind of on the front end of silicon production, but also indirect. So EMS suppliers, I mean, once designers get their hands on this stuff, miniaturization, higher density, all of these things for functionality really kick in. And printed circuit boards. So those are the pillars of IPC from the onset. So there's some indirect work and there's direct work that we're doing. That's advanced packaging. Factory of the future, how things are built. We know that directionally that is correct. Automation, AI, CFX. You mentioned a few of those things. So there's a wide variety of things that are slow to adopt, to be quite honest. But I think we've had a pandemic, we've had lots of interruptions in the way, but we know directionally correct, and that will continue. E-mobility, we have a session tomorrow on e-mobility, actually, just in terms of all of the great things that are happening in electrification. You can see how advanced packaging fits into that, how the things are made, so it's interwoven. And then lastly, design. Everything starts with design. If we can, improve some of the things that we're doing in that space, it helps all around. So those are the 4 main areas that we're working on.
Okay. What I wanted to ask, when you talk about advanced packaging, there's a lot of technology that we work on that meshes into what's going on in the semiconductor industry. Do you work with like the CTO of SEMI or other trade associations to make sure you're getting communication to the right places?
Yeah, I mean, we do work, within the CHIPS Act. There's been some coalitions that have formed, like, ASIC and MITRE Ingenuity and those sorts of things. So SEMI, for example, is involved in that, and we work, within working groups with them, along with them, so that, we're kind of collaboratively working at an association level. I do mention silicon, and I think it's really important in terms of our strategy. When you look at an actual semiconductor package, silicon is at the top of the stack, and then eventually you get down to the printed circuit board. What we're really doing is we're actually coming from the bottom up. So, our background is in printed circuit boards, that solder joint assembly, but now we're actually entering up into the substrate and the kind of the packaging of that. The reason why that's important is because there's a lot of similarity and synergy when you look at what IPC has, what we're good at, and where we've come from, and where things are going. So, for one example, when you think about PCB to HDI to Ultra HDI to IC substrate, now while those are not, I'm not saying that those are easy transitions, there is a thread there. Okay. Same thing on the assembly side, EMS, ODM, and OSAT. While there are differences that could be considered cousins, there is a common thread there. So our strategy is to, and what that allows IPC to do, is to push forward into the stack and get closer to the front end of technology.
And the other reason that's hugely important is many of your members that are exhibiting here are active in those other sectors as well. You look at the inspection companies, some of the placement companies, they have a semiconductor part to their business. So they are acutely aware of that, and they see that as hugely valuable.
There's kind of some, you always hear little buzz phrases here and there, and a couple things stick. So, today's IC substrate is tomorrow's Ultra HDI assembly. Right? Yeah. So, and same thing with assembly. We're actually we're getting a lot of reports from our members describing the complexities of assemblies, and when they describe it, you could say it might be system and package like, therefore on the semiconductor silicon side, but it's still actually classified as an EMS PCBA. It's just on smaller scale. So you've got direct chip attach, many silicon chips, as well as other type of components on there. But the scale and the form factor that PCB that it's sitting on is getting down into substrate type of lines and spaces. So it's really this what we're witnessing. What I feel like we're witnessing. Over my career, kind of as I stand here today, is that it's basically a natural evolution of the technology push into this next realm.
Yeah, and being able to shepherd and support that as an association is hugely important. Matt, congratulations on a great show, great technical conference. Thanks for talking to me, and let's talk again soon. Thank you.
Yeah.